morning and welcome to Online Adult Forum at St. David's on this Sunday morning. It is delightful to have you here. Our two guests are very special to us. First is the Reverend Peter Lane, who is the Executive Director of Revive Center for Housing and Healing. Also with us is Dr. Angela Roberts. Angela is a member of St. David's, as we know, and is, I believe, beginning her third year of chairing our Giving Tree program, which directly supports what Revive refers to as their Christmas basket program. We're here to talk with Peter about just some updates on what's going on in Revive with the challenges that COVID tide brings us, some of the things that are exciting them, and then some specifics about the Christmas basket ministry and how we can help. So welcome, Peter. I would love to just start with you and just say, golly, you have been with Revive now for a couple of months. Help me with the timeline here.
I became the interim executive director in January when Jack Seymour retired. But in this summer, I became a permanent executive director. So I'm really glad to be there.
You know, the gifts that you bring as not only the former rector of St. Paul and the Redeemer Episcopal Church in Hyde Park, but then going on to get your MBA, you know, what an amazing confluence of vocations for you to lead an organization as complex as Revive is. So lucky Revive.
lucky me too, yeah.
To have you at the helm. I wonder if you could give us maybe, I'm going to just challenge you here with like an elevator speech of what demographics and neighborhoods and how Revive serves. Let's just start with that, and then I'll follow up with the challenges that you're facing right now. So tell us a little bit about that, the households, the demographics, and the ministries that you all do.
Revive's mission, which has been pretty consistent for over 100 years, is to prevent homelessness and to restore hope. And that first phrase, prevent homelessness, is really critical to understanding what Revive does. We don't really work with the homeless that are kind of living on the street. We work with people who have some kind of usually unstable housing and help keep them housed. People who face economic challenges, substance abuse challenges, mental health challenges. And one of the ways to fight the homelessness problem is to keep people who are precariously housed in those homes. And you can think of that as kind of that's Revive's niche in the homelessness work. Demographically, we work almost exclusively with people that live in the city of Chicago. Something like 80% of the street and shelter homeless in Chicago are African American, a disparity that is caused in large part to the racist housing policies of the last centuries and the kind of lingering impacts of those. So a large percentage of our clients are African American and some Hispanic and white too. Homelessness is largely single people. A lot of our folks are single, although we do have apartments, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments. And right now at the Cressy House, I think we have about 13 children living there. And one of the things we're doing for COVID is we've set up a kind of space for them to do their online learning with some supervision from some of our occupational therapy interns, with the idea that probably more schoolwork will get done there than upstairs in their apartments. So, so those are generally the demographics.
Yeah. Thank you. That's helpful. It has been around for, as you say, over 100 years, and of course started off as Cathedral Shelter. That was its name until I believe 2013. There was some confusion at our end at St. David's, and I think it may have had to do with, I don't know what, that Revive is no longer affiliated in any way with the Episcopal Church. Can you speak to the ways in which the Diocese of Chicago supports Revive, and just sort of how our relationship is at this point?
Yeah. Well, Revive is deeply connected with the Episcopal Diocese of Chicago in numerous ways. First, it was like we're a not-for-profit organization, but our not-for-profit status is actually legally the Diocese of Chicago's not-for-profit status. So from a very fundamental point of view, we're related. We're also an agency of Episcopal Charities. We were when they first began funding people, I'll get my dates wrong, but it was something like the 50s. We were one of those organizations. Now, St. David's confusion is understandable because Revive has been through a tumultuous last couple of years, facing some financial challenges as well as major staff turnover. And there was a year where Episcopal Charities stopped funding Revive. And so that fact might have been spun into the fact that there was no relationship, but that was an overread. And I'm very happy to report that Episcopal Charities has returned to funding the organization. And not only do they provide the kind of yearly partnership grants that they have for some 50 years, but in our financial challenges, Episcopal Charities made a very generous $50,000 loan to help us get through. So I think I can say with conviction that Episcopal Charities is very much behind us, and we're committed to being with Episcopal Charities. So yes, there was some confusion about, and a lot of turnover, and some rebuilding to do, to be honest. And I'm glad that the Episcopal Diocese and Episcopal Charities are in our corner.
Thank you. That's helpful. Yes, and it would be a rare not-for-profit that doesn't periodically experience those kind of tumultuous experiences that you refer to.
If you think about Cathedral Shelter in its very beginnings, 1915 it was started. Not many years later, the cathedral it was in burned down, and then they continued their work out of the basement then, which was not ruined, for many years. And and in some ways thrived out of that position. And so I look to that history to say, there's challenges we're facing. That would be dishonest not to say that there aren't. But we've faced them before, and we have, faith that we'll return to being a very strong organization.
Absolutely, thank you. To that point, it's a good segue into the kinds of challenges that Revive is facing right now in what we're calling the season of COVID-tide. I mean, surely this has just created issues for not only for the administration of Revive, but also just your clientele and all of that. What can you tell us about what the last 6 months have been like for you all?
Yeah, well, they've been a challenge, as you can imagine. We are now, in large part, a lot of our work is on site. We own 2 buildings, and of course, the work of running buildings can't be done remotely. And our case management work and our occupational therapy work, which is so important at preventing homelessness, helping people get the resources they need, helping them get the groups they need and everything. A lot of that really needs to be in person. Many of our clients might have phones, but they are the kind of monthly pay phones, and often are not the same number for the whole year. So now most people go in 3 days a week and work from home 2 days a week. I'm in one of my 2 at-home days today. And so, but of course that's meant in the office, face masks and air purifiers and hand sanitizer, all the standard things. From our client perspective, the people who live in the permanent supportive housing, we saw them lose some jobs, but I would say didn't have a major impact other than not having as many visitors. you can think of our clientele as kind of the chronically homeless. They're the most at risk. And then those people who kind of live in kind of very low market rate housing who come to us for services. And then and then you have the low income people who probably have jobs but are kind of precarious. That's the group that the Christmas Basket, the Giving Tree group, helps the most. And so many of those folks have service jobs, restaurants, for example. And so unemployment is a major problem for that group. There's been other ways that the coronavirus has actually been helpful to Revive. So we had a cash flow crisis. And so the PPP loans of the CARES Act were a wonderful help to us to get a loan, and hopefully we'll be forgiven here in the next few weeks. That really made a big difference to us. Also, I would say the transition of leadership happened at about the same time. And actually being on Zoom calls with the staff every morning, I think has allowed us to build some camaraderie that we might not have had we been just kind of gone with business as usual. So we've also found some strengths in the midst of this period.
That is helpful, and there is something about sort of a shared challenge that will bring people together. That is good to know. You're just giving me these wonderful segues here. I'd like to turn attention particularly to your Christmas Basket program. You helped identify for us who the clients are of Revive that are the primary recipients of these, and these are people who, for the most part, are employed, but perhaps precariously so. And Lord knows, in the winter in Chicago, in a restaurant season with minimal in-person indoor eating, more challenges perhaps than ever before. This program has been going on now for many years. You know,
I believe this is its 99th year. There's some competing data on that, but I think it's the 99th year.
So this really was foundational to the very beginning of Revive.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow. So, so with that in mind, obviously there will be, you have as many clients as you have ever had. What, from an administrative standpoint, do you see this as more challenging, about the same? What do you foresee for your program at your end this year?
Well, it's the first year I've done it, so it's a little hard for me to compare, but usually in the summer, there's these large events where people come to Revive's building to sign up. You know, that was just absolutely not possible to bring in hundreds of folks. So all of the sign up happened either online, over the phone, or people coming in person. Our front desk staff really did great work getting people signed up. Some of you might see that the information, we don't have perhaps as good of information as we have in previous years because there wasn't sometimes the opportunity for that face-to-face follow-up, but we think we have quite good information. So that was a major change, that it was all the signups were remote. And of course, we're changing our procedures for pickups, simplifying it dramatically so that folks are not coming inside the building. And so logistically, there's quite a bit of change. But our experience with the families that I've talked to, they're eager to participate. I'll give you just one story. Ingra is a woman who lives in our building, and she has SSDI and other sources of income, but very, very little extra money to buy her 3 children, you know, the things that they and oftentimes need as kids. And so she looks to the Christmas Basket program every year as a big, like one of the only times all year when she can help her kids get what they want. And I would say the coronavirus has had no impact on that. You know, it's her desire to help her kids get something that they want and need for Christmas is just as strong as it ever has been.
Yeah, boy, that sure sounds rings true. Absolutely, and perhaps this year more so than ever for many of your clients whose incomes perhaps are even more precarious than in previous years. So
That's right.
definitely that. So Angela, I want to just maybe turn this over to you for just a moment and ask you. You know, you and I have been having some basic conversations. I know you have been putting some really good thought into how St. David's might be doing ours this year. What can you sort of give me the elevator speech about what? That's a hard thing for you, I know, but
Not at all. Because I feel so passionately about this, right? And so we, as a community, and Jack and I, especially in terms of trying to organize this, are just as enthusiastic as we have been in previous years. And while, you know, appropriately considering what will need to change in the time of COVID, are really, you know, we're not very daunted by that anticipation, right? We know there are some adaptations that will have to be made in terms of how gifts are dropped off and some added organization around that. And, you know, whether or not we're able to hold our annual gift wrapping party may be up for debate. Whether or not we have to kind of schedule times of drop offs, or we need to go personally pick things up from people. But we're prepared for all of those contingencies. So we have a plan A, B, C, D, E, and forward, depending on where we are at that time point. But the one thing that will not fall is our commitment to the Giving Tree program and our commitment to Revive. And we'll simply call on all the tremendous expertise, help, and favors we have at St. David's to make that happen. And we are going to get a little creative, I think, around how we allow people, the family sign up on our end is as exciting as it is on your end, Peter. So
I bet.
our community gets really excited about the opportunity to not just, you know, select from the tree, but, you know, oftentimes to select families that align with their own family structure, to really put that personal component into their gifts. We take seriously the commitment of not only getting what people need, but the opportunity to give people what they want, recognizing that for all of us, that's a very important component, not just of the holidays, but of just existing, right? And so our community really takes that with a loving heart. And so this year we'll be doing some different things. We'll post our tree early, I think, Sue, you and I've talked about, so we'll get our actual giving tree up a little bit earlier than we would normally, to give, hopefully by next weekend, actually, if we get everything in and get our tags made this week, to where, you know, members of our congregation, when they come for our outdoor church services, will be able to stop by and actually physically pick up tags. We'll be working with Bo to consider virtual ways that people can sign up. And then, you know, folks in our community can certainly expect phone calls from me and phone calls from others and emails, asking respectfully if you are able to contribute this year, that you do. We recognize that even in our congregation, there are more challenges this year for people than there have been in the past. We are truly sensitive to that, and have considered that with some heaviness on our part in terms of thinking about our commitment to Revive. But we feel like we can continue that, and certainly for those in our community who are able to you know, support this program in the way they have in years past, we welcome that in any way, shape, or form, including just reaching out and sending me an email, of which I've already gotten a couple, saying I'd love to sponsor a family, and here's the type of family I think I can support this year. So we're really eager and keen, one way or the other, to cull together the resources and make this work in a way that's healthy and safe for everyone in our community, but also supports Revive to the best that we can.
Great. Thank you, Angela. I appreciate that. And we will, for St. David's folks, we'll be getting more information out to you all.
Hopefully this week. It may depend on, I mean, I hate to say I planned a week off. I planned a week off kind of sort of around the release of the Giving Tree information, so that we could get everything entered in our spreadsheets on our side, because we take the sheets that you give us, Peter, and enter those in a spreadsheet so we can organize them on our end. So that'll be our job this week, and really getting the opportunity to share not just the needs of these families, but the stories of these families. And that's one of the things I know our community really appreciates, as a grandmother who's taking care of her grandchildren, you know, moms who are trying to go back to school to better themselves. So the stories are as important to us as the opportunity to contribute and help. And I look forward to sharing those stories with St. David's again this year.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. The Christmas basket program is clearly is something that is near and dear to St. David's heart. We have been doing this, as I said earlier, for a very long time. But there are other ways, I believe, that parishes like St. David's can assist at Revive. Peter, can you speak to some of the other ways by which individuals or ministry groups or maybe our friends in the community can help in some way with Revive's work? What can you tell me?
Thank you. Yeah, the needs are all year long, of course, not just at Christmas. Of course, we deeply appreciate the generosity that St. David's has shown. We are always grateful for financial support throughout the year, and always interested in sharing the stories of our clients through our monthly newsletter. One of the exciting things we're doing at Revive is some will know that there was a thrift store at Revive that closed a little over a year ago, partly because of for a variety of reasons, but we've converted that space into something called the Client Engagement Center. Clients, we need to attract clients to take part in programs, and we're trying to create a space where clients want to be, and we're hoping over the next year to have a space where people can volunteer and teach things that they want to teach, or computer skills, or this is the stuff that's going to be post-COVID probably, but those who want to volunteer and have ideas, I'd love to talk to them about it. Yeah.
Fabulous. That's good to hear. It broke our hearts when the thrift store closed down. That was a huge big part of people bringing things to St. David's and leaving them, and then of course your wonderful drivers who would pick them up monthly. It was awesome. But I'm so glad to hear that space is being put to different use that really meets the needs of even more clients than you otherwise would through the thrift store. So
yeah, we have there's a woman who works for us, and her name is Andrea LaFleur. She teaches occupational therapy at University of Illinois Chicago, and she's passionate about how occupational therapy, which you can think of as teaching life skills, is could be an asset to the homeless. And so we're creating this client engagement center around kind of occupational therapy principles, meeting people where they are, figuring out what goals they have, and then how to help them reach those goals with Andrea and some other occupational therapist expertise. So it's not just random, but it really is thoughtful. And so, we're a couple months into that, but hope that becomes a real resource, not just to the people who live in our buildings, but to people who need our help to stay housed, because our goal is to prevent homelessness. That's exciting, even though it's sad to mourn the loss of the thrift store.
But you know what? We are people of the resurrection, aren't we?
There you
and
go.
It's about that something dies and something new and transformative emerges, and that is very exciting.
I will say, sorry, Sue, to interrupt it just slightly. So, Peter, I am so inspired by that. So, my clinical background is as a speech language pathologist. So, I have tremendous respect for my OT colleagues and what they do. But I think about the myriad of expertise that we have at St. David's and can see inspired already, I think, in the hearts of several of my fellow St. David's folk that this would be something they might be interested in and in supporting. So please do, as we kind of move through the year, let us know if there's particular skills that your clientele have identified that might be things that they can benefit from. And then I, without committing, Sue, I'm making eye contact with her thinking, I think we could probably find some helpful folk who might be willing to come down and support some of these things. So, and without much arm twisting. So I'd love to hear more about what, as you get this program up and going, there are things I think we could offer out of our skill sets here, but also it'd be lovely to hear if there are areas that your folks have identified that might be of particular interest. So I think that's really exciting. We have I think to our advantage, a parish full of teachers, right? We have a parish full of educators, a parish full of people who kind of do this already in their daily life skills that I think would find this exciting. Folks from St. David's commonly would come down and help to work with the families as they were coming in for, information incoming days. And so I see this, they have wanted to be involved with Revive beyond just the Giving Tree program. So I see this as being an opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Sue, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just so excited by
I'm
that.
delighted that you did. I affirm what you said. I think that this will definitely resonate with a good many folk, and it's very exciting. I'm aware of our time, not only in terms of those of us who are watching this, but also Peter of yours and your own very busy schedule. I guess what I'd like to do is close it at this point with is there anything that you would like to add? And the question I didn't ask, but an opportunity now for you to just put a plug in for whatever you'd like to put a plug in for.
Maybe just to thank the people of St. David's for being in solidarity with the poor. I think that's one of the great aspirations for Revive, is that the community that's formed is across lines of suburban, urban, across class lines, and that there's something about the beloved community that there's solidarity between those who struggle and those who give. And I thank the people of St. David's for participating in that community.
Thank you, and thank you for naming beloved community. That is what we are called to be and to do. So thank you so much. Thank you. We will have some follow-up information in our Monday, Wednesday, Friday at St. David's. And we hope this conversation will continue with our parish and with our friends at Revive. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to more of these kinds of online adult forums for as long as we need to do them this way. Thank you all.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you both very much.